What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're going to keep on pushing towards Legend in the Hisui Cup using a Shadow Gliscor team. Now this Pokemon is very interesting. It has a lot of different movesets that you can run. In fact, in today's video I'm going to try out two different ones myself. The first one I'm going to try is a Sand Attack variant, which is much better into the Steel-type Pokemon. Then I'm going to try out the Fury Cutter variant, much better into the Grass types. Let's get into the battles and see what Shadow Gliscor can do. Alright, let's get right on into it. Here we see our Sand Attack Gliscor on our team in the backline, a Shadow Staraptor in the lead into our Shadow Hippowdon, and also take a look at our fast move on our Hippo. Yesterday, we were running Sand Attack, but today trying out Fire Fang, a lot better fast move pressure into a Pokemon like this Staraptor. Let's see what our opponent is going to do. Obviously, they have to shield. They're not going to just sack it completely on the lead, but the fast move pressure on both sides, tripping them down very quickly. We're kind of low ourselves, but we're going to let this fly through and probably go for a Sucker Punch down with our Spiritomb. Now, being up a shield with Spiritomb and up energy in this meta is very hard to come back from. Let's see what our opponent has to try to sponge this in the backline. They do end up having a Bastiodon. Luckily, we have Sand Attack on our Shadow Gliscor, which means this matchup is not that bad. They come in with their own Spiritomb, and at this point, we should be on a good spot, but it could get a little bit tricky because Spiritomb can debuff our attack stat with a Rock Tomb. With that said, Spiritomb's not that bad into the opposing Bastiodon either, so I think we have play no matter what our opponent is going to do in this game. They do go for that Rock Tomb here against us. I'm going to go for an Aerial Ace, and then if I need to, maybe go for the Night Slash as well. We are getting chipped down by Sucker Punch damage, and while I don't have Earthquake for that Basti, we should still have enough fast movement and charging pressure across the board to win this game. Night Slash coming through, our opponent, no shields remaining, has to let Spiritomb go down. In comes the Basti, and we have Sucker Punch. We have Shadow Ball. I think two of these Shadow Balls will be enough to knock out, at least by the time I get enough Sucker Punch damage through. This should do quite a bit of damage, although Basti is a very bulky Pokemon. They do survive that, but the next one will basically knock them out from this range. We also have some Sand Attack damage if we need it in the backline. Our opponent realizes not much that they can do at this point. They top left, and we can take game number 1. GG there to our opponent. Next game, Shadow Hippowdon as our lead into a Shadow Drifblim. Once again, having our Fire Fang as our fast move is going to help out quite a bit here. I would rather get this Pokemon out of the way so our Shadow Gliscor does not have to deal with this in the backline, although if we need to, we do have Night Slash in the back to hit it for super effective damage. In comes a Weather Ball. We do draw that first shield. Our opponent overfarming quite a bit of energy here, and I mean, I could let this move go, or I could shield and get my second move off into them. I am just going to sack our Hippowdon here, though. They are one more fast move away from an Icy Wind. Our opponent, though, instantly swaps out into a Hisui and Samurott, and we don't have a lot of play into this Pokemon here. I do think that Fury Cutter is much better in this matchup on our Shadow Gliscor. As you'll see later in this video, it definitely is going to be the case where having Fury Cutters are super effective. It's very good into this Pokemon. With that said, potentially we're not in the worst spot ever. We do have that shield advantage, and because of that, we can shield up an Icy Wind, go for these Aerial Aces as well, and get enough energy to potentially outpace that Drifblim to an Icy Wind with a Night Slash. In comes our Aerial Ace. Our opponent likely will let this go. They do let the move through. What's going to come in? Interestingly enough, it's actually going to be a Lucario here that comes in rather than that Drifblim. They must have hoped at this point that I had Earthquake. They want to drain all of our energy here, but we go for the Aerial Ace, and now we go for a Night Slash right after. Our opponent might not realize that this is just the resisted charge move. Maybe they'll shield this up. They do shield, and we get a boost, which is amazing to see, but also probably unnecessary at this point. Our Spiritomb should be able to win this game. Thunder Punch does not quite knock us out. We swap into our Spiritomb, they swap into their Drifblim. We can Rock Tomb before an Icy Wind will be loaded. I guess I could have also gone for a farm down here and had a charge move for that Lucario. This is going to be a closer endgame than I'd want because of that, but we still go for the faster pressure. One Sand Attack can knock out the Lucario, and we can still take the win there. GG to our opponent. Next game, Hippo into Spiritomb. Very neutral matchup. We know Sucker Punch is going to add up a lot against us, but we can't outpace them to Weather Ball Rock if we want to throw it before a potential Rock Tomb debuff is going to be thrown. That's exactly what we're going to do here. In comes our Weather Ball. It is non-stab. They realize this is likely not going to be a hard-hitting move, so they do no shield, but we've already chunked them down deep into the yellow, potentially into the red, after just a bit more fast move pressure. In fact, we no shield a Rock Tomb bait, we save our Hippowdon, saves off a Spiritomb, and our opponent brings in a Gastrodon to try to counteract us here. Now, this Pokemon is a thing that's a little bit tricky for Spiritomb to deal with. I'm going to go, though, for the Rock Tomb bait, just like they did. Maybe they'll call my attack. Okay, I guess we both should be not baiting here. Spiritomb is a very predictable Pokemon at times. Rock Tomb is such a tempting move to throw. Shadow Ball would have basically one-shot, but at this point, I'm going to rely on our Gliscor to hopefully win this game. We're going to go for a big farm down with Sand Attack here against this Pokemon. We'll get a lot of energy. I'm hoping it's not going to be a hard counter to our Shadow Gliscor in the backline. It could be potentially like an Abomasnow. If that is the case, that wouldn't be great. Speak of the devil, there it is. Not a Pokemon you want to see as a ground and flying type Pokemon. These Powder Snows will add up quite a bit against us, but we can get to 2 aces before they even get 1 charge attack off. We have potentially some HP, some energy as well on our own Shadow Hippowdon, so potentially we can get to another move here. We'll try to. Let's see what they're going to throw into us. It could be a Weather Ball. Might be an Icy Wind, though. They do Icy Wind, which means now my attack has been lowered, but that's going to take just a little bit longer for them to reach the next charge attack. I think at this point, we can land this move, maybe even Sand Attack down. It's going to be so close. Do they reach the next attack? No, we go for that full farm down. Who do they come in with? I think Spiritom's pretty low. Same with that Gastrodon. Are either of those two Pokemon going to be healthy enough to reach a move? We farm down the Gastro. We have a Night Slash for that Spiritomb, and we can knock them out before they reach an attack here. Very close game. Shadow Hippowdon putting in a lot of work, and Gliscor able to overcome some of its worst matchups here by just outpacing them and being such a menace in the backline. Next game, this is exactly where we want to see it. Shadow Abomasnow is going to take so much damage from these Fire Fangs. They're staying in as well. Look at the amount of damage that we have already done just with fast move pressure. We can shield a single time farm all the way down, still be well within the green, and the amount of HP that we have on our own Hippowdon means hopefully in the backline, it's still going to have some play. They come in with their own Shadow Hippowdon here. It's also on Fire Fang, very cool Pokemon to see, but our Gliscor should be able to at least absorb some of the damage, forcing them to go for less efficient moves like that Weather Ball rather than the Scorching Sands. In comes our Aerial Ace. The sand attack damage is adding up. I'm going to try to reach a second one here. Oh, I had the Night Slash. I should have thrown that move. Now we're in a bit of trouble, where because I didn't throw the attack, I might take 2 moves on our Spiritomb. In comes an attack. Is this going to be a Scorching Sands? It could be. It could be a bait as well. I'm going to go for the shield, and they do bait us here, which means they will reach a second Weather Ball. I don't think they can reach a second Scorching Sands, however, so we'll see if this game is still winnable. Our opponent goes for the Weather Ball, doesn't quite do too much damage to us here, and we get a full farm down. They don't swap out, and then they come in with a Gastrodon of all things. This Pokemon might try to call a Rock Tomb bait, but I full sent the Shadow Ball. They end up letting it go, which might give us a little bit of a wiggle room in this game. Now I think Weather Ball plus the fast move pressure plus potentially fast move pressure from our Spiritomb should be enough to knock them out if we need to. Our opponent does shield that first move up. I get the next move before either an Earth Power or maybe even a Body Slam at this point. In comes the Weather Ball. Down goes a lot of HP on this Gastro. They realize at this point they don't have any HP remaining. Our Spiritomb could close out the backline. GG there to our opponent. Next game is a Shadow Drifblim in the lead. We've seen this before. Little bit of a tricky lead matchup, but very playable, where I can go for these Weather Ball rocks, get shields down from this Drifblim, and potentially, depending on when they throw it here, maybe we'll let our Hippowdon go, maybe we'll invest in it just a little bit longer. In comes attack here. They overfarm as much as they can, which means that our Fire Fangs were not debuffed up until this point. Icy Wind would knock us out. This time, I'm going to try to shield, see if we can get a second shield from this Pokemon. Down shields, there's not a lot in this meta that can take down Spiritomb, so I think this might be a good play. Our opponent does let that move go, which is a little bit uncomfortable. In fact, they come in with a Drapion in the backline. I don't want to give over a huge farm down saying I'm debuffed on our Hippowdon, so I say swap our Spiritomb. We're going to take a Crunch, which is fine in my opinion. We can survive that move. We don't take any fast move pressure from the Poison Stings either, so we can go now for the shield on the Aqua Tail and go for Rock Tombs in just a second. Our opponent is staying in this matchup, which is kind of interesting at this point. They swap out with some energy, and they bring in a Wormadam, a Pokemon I haven't seen too often in this meta, although while Ghost types are a counter to this pick, unfortunately our Ghost type is not that strong into it, saying that we are also a Dark type. These neutral Bug Bites are going to shred through our HP. I'm going to go for the double debuff. Honestly, at this point, I didn't even want a shield there. I wanted instead to put them into a very nice farm down range where sand attack damage is going to be able to knock them out. I'll have basically 2 back-to-back moves ready to go against that Drapion when it comes back in. I think that right now they're only at 2 Poison Stings of energy, which means we can reach one Aerial Ace here, reach another one in just a second, and either knock them out or put them deep into the red, or we can farm them down with our backline. In comes our next move. They have the Aqua Tail now, but as long as this knocks out or puts them into farm down range, we should be able to win. Down goes the Shadow Drapion. Gliscor able to close out that endgame matchup. GG there to our opponent. Next game, fantastic lead once again for our Hippowdon. Fire Fang is going to shred through their HP, and for some reason, they're still staying in. They reach a charge attack here. Could be a close combat. I think at this point, might as well save our Hippo if we can. We'll have the energy for the backline. Power Punch being thrown doesn't really matter here. We still farm down. In the backline, what are we going to see? They're thinking for just a second here, and they end up coming in with a Spiritomb. I go for the Weather Ball Rock. It could be a no-shield attempt by our opponent here. They do no-shield, so probably should have gone for the full send there. We go for the second Weather Ball, hoping for a shield from our opponent right now. We need to get shields down this game so that we can have more play with our Spiritomb. They do shield that next attack up, and now Spiritomb of our own is going to come in and try its best to farm them all the way down. These Sucker Punches should be able to knock them out before they reach a second move. They go for a full-on Shadow Ball as well, and then they come in with an Abomasnow. So what this means is our Gliscor is pretty useless in the backline. I don't have a lot of play for it against this Ice-type Pokemon. I need to be able to reach a second Rock Tomb if I want any chance to win this game. Our opponent overfarming almost perfectly here. In comes a charge attack into our Spiritomb. We're at -1, or they're at -1 attack, but they still knock us out with that move. Unfortunately, I bet a better Spiritomb might have been able to live that move. Unfortunately for us, now we have to go for a catch attempt. Our opponent throws after 4. I didn't quite get that catch properly here, so we're going to go for the no shield, obviously. Down goes our Gliscor. Down goes our Hippowdon as well, although not without getting a ton of damage with Fire Fang into the Snowman. GG there to our opponent. Next game, we're going to see a Gastrodon in the lead. Honestly, not the best lead matchup, saying we are on Fire Fang, although it is playable if we need to deal with it later on. We're going to actually see a Bastiodon come into our Spiritomb, and this Pokemon, while it is a very bulky nightmare in a lot of situations, it's not that bad for Spiritomb. If you get enough damage with these Sucker Punches, there is actually a breakpoint that worse Spiritomb are able to get. You're actually able to win basically every even shielding scenario, or at least go and force them to shield themselves, which is pretty good for us, because if I can get shields down, then potentially landing Scorching Sands into that Gastrodon could be just a little bit better for us. In comes another Shadow Ball. Our opponent at this point likely going to shield this move up. They probably do want to keep Switch in their favor. They do shield, and at this point, they have to throw in a move here in just a second if they don't want to take a Rock Tomb or another Shadow Ball. In comes their next attack. This will knock us out, but it will set up a nice Fire Fang down for a Hippowdon. In comes the Hippo. We're going to get a lot of energy out of this matchup. They're not even going to reach a move, so we don't take that much fast move pressure either. Our opponent thinking about who to bring in, and now at this point, I'm going to bring in our Shadow Gliscor, get as much energy as we can, and we are met by a Spiritomb in the backline. This Pokemon is not that bad for Gliscor to see because I have such a big energy lead. I can go for Airlaces here. This should be enough to two-shot them. They let the first one go before even a debuff is going to land, which means I think we can shield up this move, go for a Night Slash here against them, and hopefully use the energy on our Gliscor as well as our Hippowdon to win this game. In fact, maybe we can go for a full farm down. We get the full farm down. We're pretty low on HP, but it's Mud Slap that's being thrown against us. We should be able to survive the fast move pressure at least a little bit, maybe get 3 moves off here if we can. Airlace comes through. They call that I don't have Earthquake, but at this point, I'm going to spam out as many moves as I can. I'm going to go for yet another Weather Ball, force them to throw energy as quickly as possible here because they don't want to take any chip if they can help it. In comes a move. I think Earth Power or Water Pulse basically would one-shot us from this range, but we still have a lot of energy on our Shadow Gliscor. Can we reach 2 attacks? We're already at 1 Night Slash. We're 1 more Sand Attack away from the next. I think we might be able to reach it. Night Slash number 1 comes through. Night Slash number 2 going to be just barely reached here. The spammy nature of the Shadow Gliscor just barely able to overcome this Gastrodon and take the win here. GG to our opponent. Very close match. Next game, Shadow Hippo into Shadow Drifblim, one of the most common leads that we're seeing here today. I know at this point that our Fire Fang damage is going to shred through their HP, but these Astonishes obviously have the same type attack bonus, which means that we're going to be fast move down the longer this goes. In comes the Weather Ball. Obviously, a shield does have to come up from our opponent, and as we do see here, I'm going to no-shield because they went instantly for a charge attack. Icy Wind does knock us out. I think Spiritomb can get a pretty nice farm down, but they don't quite let us get that. Instead, they say-swap a Wormadam. They've realized now that my Fire Fang user is out of the way. Wormadam should be pretty safe in the backline, and unfortunately for us, they are correct. Shadow Ball being thrown, they let it go, does a massive amount of damage here. I don't really know what to do at this point. I'm going to shield my Spiritomb just in the hopes that my Spiritomb should have more play in the backline, but I don't even know if that's going to be the case. We already saw a Drifblim here in this game. Our opponent, what is their third Pokemon going to be? In comes that Drifblim once again. We're going to go for the Rock Tomb. I'm going to go and not get the move off. I'm such a bad player sometimes. I thought I'd survive. We don't. There's no chance of us winning that game from that point. GG there to our opponent. Next game, Lucario lead, and once again, the Lucario user staying in for just a second. They swap into Spiritomb, but they give us such a big energy lead at this point. I can bait for the Scorching Sands, go for the Weather Ball, and they likely do have to shield. In comes a bait, down goes their first shield, and now our Spiritomb can try to win the mirror match at any means necessary. With that said, I think we're still in a good spot even without switch advantage. Lucario doesn't really want to face off into either of my Pokemon. Rock Tomb is going to be thrown, debuff my attack stat, but we can throw a Rock Tomb of our own to either finish them off or to draw their final shield. At this point, I think I'd actually prefer that they shield this. Obviously, that is why they don't. They realize they still need shields for this Lucario. They're going to throw a move here at the last second. In fact, no, they're not. They're actually going to go for the overfarm here. I could have gone for Rock Tomb, but my attack's at -1. There's a chance they're going to sacrifice their Lucario anyway, and we see their final Pokemon is their own Gliscor. Now, I could come in here with our Gliscor into the mirror match, but I also know that the fast move pressure as well as the Weather Ball Rock might put them into a single charge move range, and then all I'm going to need is one charge move on this Gliscor, on my own Gliscor, and then one charge move for their Lucario, and we should be able to win this match. They could have Shadow Ball on their Lucario. That is the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about at this point. But as you can see here, we actually have swapped over our fast move. I believe I'm on Fury Cutter now. It's going to do 1 extra damage per fast move against this mirror match, which is actually super nice to see. There's a chance here I might just go for a full farm down as well. Yeah, our fast move pressure kind of shredding through the HP of this opposing Gliscor. In comes another move, but I know at this point we survive. Save that shield for a potential Shadow Ball. In comes that Lucario, and now Aerial Ace should be enough to knock them out. In comes the move, down goes the Lucario. Just a couple more Fury Cutters will knock out the Gliscor, and we can take the win there. GG there to our opponent. Next game, Hippo into Gastrodon. We don't love seeing this lead matchup here, but our Spiritomb as our safe swap is our most reliable Pokemon here in this meta. We end up baiting out a Lucario, and now that we're on Fury Cutter on our Gliscor, this is actually a much better bait out. While Fury Cutter is not going to do a lot of damage here, I could do a lot of damage with Aerial Ace with our Gliscor later on, but I would also just prefer to get rid of this with our Hippowdon if we need to. We got a shield advantage, that's all we really need, and now our Hippowdon should be able to farm all the way down. In fact, we see that they power-up punch us here, which likely means, in my opinion, they're on power-up punch and thunder punch. There's almost no way it's a Shadow Ball. I'm going to no-shield this move, farm all the way down. They do reach that pup here. Are they going to reach a second? Unfortunately, they do, because I did lag a turn, so unfortunate stuff for our Hippo. Going to take just a bit more chip damage than I'd like, but I'm just going to bank at this point that our Gliscor is going to be able to win us this game. And it's going to be a interesting backline. It's a B-Barrel, which is not a great Pokemon for my two ground types to see, but because they're not on Water Gun, they're on Rollout instead, the faster pressure is not going to add up that quickly against us. In fact, I think I might just be able to land one Aerial Ace, get a full farm down, and start spamming out energy against that Gastrodon. Ace comes through, our opponent lets it go, which means I think as long as like 9 more Fury Cutters knock out this B-Barrel, we should be able to win this match. In comes their next Surf, but we have that shield ready to go. We're going to get that full farm down against them, have 100 energy for the Gastrodon. We still have energy as well on our Hippowdon. We go for a Night Slash bait. Maybe it'll boost our attack, but at this point, just the Charge Move spam is all it's really going to take to win this game. No boost there, but we have another move ready to go. We're almost at a third attack against this Gastrodon already. Aerial Ace being thrown, down goes even more HP. I think this might just be a fast move farm down range at this point. In comes yet another Night Slash. Gliscor too spammy. Our opponent does shield the attack up, and they have to dump a full Water Pulse into us if they want to knock us out. And at that point, if they do, then I can Fire Fang them down, or potentially reach a Weather Ball if I need to with our Hippowdon. Water Pulse does knock us out, but one Fire Fang knocks out the Water-type Pokemon, and we're able to take the win. GG there to our opponent. Next game is a Togekiss, and if you can see our backline, this Pokemon is a little bit tricky for both our Gliscor and our Spiritomb. Now, while Gliscor does have neutral Aerial Ace into them, my fast move is going to be resisted by this Fairy-type Pokemon, which means that I don't want to have to be in that matchup if we can help it. At least I want to take down shields if we can potentially make it so this Togekiss has to use shields in this matchup. In comes their charge move. They're going to throw right before my next Weather Ball. Good timing by them. Ace does draw our shield, and in the backline, we're going to see a Spiritomb come in. Now, I know at this point that not keeping this energy could be a little bit tricky for us in the backline, but I also know that Shadow Gliscor here, after landing that move, can probably get a full farm down, or at the very least, start threatening shields with these Aerial Aces. They could go for a shield on this attack, but I'd be surprised to see it right now. They might no-shield, try to come back in with their Togekiss, which is exactly what they end up doing. I can still outpace them, though, to another Aerial Ace. This move should be able to knock them out, or draw their final shield. It really depends on what their final Pokemon might be. They actually shield the attack here. How weak are they to Gliscor? I guess pretty weak, because they also throw a charge move right before I reach my next move. Good play by them, but at this point, I can probably Sucker Punch them all the way down, and Spiritomb up a shield is going to do fantastic, especially into a Lucario. GG there to our opponent. Next game is a Pachirisu, one of the best lead matchups that you can see here as a ground-type Pokemon. They come in with their Samurott, and I have Fury Cutter for this matchup. This is exactly what this matchup is going to be better for. Fury Cutter is going to counteract these Hisui and Samurotts, but these Icy Winds would still basically one-shot, so I'm still going to go down shields, but this matchup is so much more consistent with our Gliscor. In comes our Aerial Ace. Our opponent at this point could shield this move up if they want to, which is exactly what they do end up doing, and they seem PS on this next attack. I think, though, at this point, I might not need Switch. I know that Up Energy or Spiritomb can have quite a bit of play into that Pachirisu, as well as potentially there might be an Abomasnow or a Drifblim in the backline. Either way, we should have a lot of play with our Hippo in this match. I get that full farm down here. They're thinking for just a second. They come in with Pachirisu. We swap into the Hippo. There is the Abomasnow. At this point, all we need to do is shield a single time, farm them all the way down here. They've realized not much they can do. GG there to our opponent. Next game is the Drifblim lead once again, one of the most common lead matchups that we have seen today. I'm going to try our best to get a shield advantage for our backline, or just knock out this Drifblim if I can. Weather Ball comes through, our opponent likely will shield this up. They don't want to let all their energy go to waste. The Fire Fangs have put them into Weather Ball range. They do end up shielding. At this point, they're going to go for an Icy Wind to debuff my attack stat. I could keep our Hippo around, but I'm going to let it go this time, keep that shield advantage for our backline, and see if our Spiritomb and our Shadow Gliscor have what it takes to win out in this game. Our opponent's staying in for just a second here. They're actually going to reach an Icy Wind with about 1 HP remaining. I'm going to let it go, though. I have faith that our Shadow Gliscor should be able to win this matchup, where I'm going to have that shield advantage. I also have an energy lead here with our Spiritomb. our opponent is thinking about who to bring in. They come in with a Bastiodon. We used to have Sand Attack for Basti, but this is not the case here, and unfortunately Sand Attack would have also been good against this Drapion, but I think we might still have some play. They don't know that we're not running Earthquake. We have energy on our Spiritomb, and maybe if we can draw the final shield here from our opponent, there might still be some play for us. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Fury Cutter is still shredding through the HP of this Shadow Drapion. We go for the Aerial Ace. Are we going to see a shield here from our opponent? If they do have the second one ready to go, in comes the Ace. Down goes a lot of HP on that Drapion. We actually farm all the way down. In comes that Basti. Are they going to respect that I might have Earthquake? I have to hope that they do. Night Slash does very little damage here, but if we can get a shield, that is massive. There is the shield. We get the boost as well, which, I mean, I don't know how much that's going to help. 2 Shadow Balls should be able to still knock them out one way or another, but any bit of extra damage that we can get here is very much welcomed. They actually let us get yet another Night Slash off, which means now that might just be 1 Shadow Ball range. This should mean that our Spiritomb should easily close out this endgame. Down goes our Gliscor to a Stone Edge, but Spiritomb still has so much energy remaining on it. Sucker Punch as well is going to add up quite a bit against them. We have the Shadow Ball ready to go. Our opponent, no shields remaining. They're going to take a lot of damage from our Ghost-type Pokemon, and as long as we can farm down before their next Stone Edge is reached, we should be able to take the win. GG there to our opponent. And with that, we have a 5-0 set here in the 2900s, and we get a 2977. So here's the thing about this. I was at 2922 when I redeemed this 5-0. I got only 55 points for that 5-0 here. It is going to put us in a very nice range where tomorrow, potentially, we can reach Legend with a 4-1 set. But man, 55 points for a 5-0, that is probably the lowest I've ever seen. On average, you're supposed to get about 75. I've got 60 before, 65, but 55, that's a new low. With that said, this team is amazing. Shadow Hippowdon with Fire Fang, as well as Shadow Gliscor, either with Sand Attack or Fury Cutter, both very strong options, and Spiritomb, as we know, just the most reliable Pokemon in this meta. This team is very good if you want to start climbing, so if you want to use it, good luck to you, and I hope that you have better luck than I did with your ELO gains. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.